crimes don't just occur. Well, let me back up. So these crimes, porch pirating, occur in all type of neighborhoods. So I don't want it to be misunderstood that this is this is tailored to a particular neighborhood. Now, many of the reports that I read, oftentimes so-called air quote safer looking neighborhoods are often targeted by criminals because they think that they are most likely to be able to get away with it. The People's Voice. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is The People's Voice. I am Trey Evans and I am The People's Voice. Thank you again for checking out the podcast this week. As always, it is greatly appreciated. As always, we thank everyone who has taken the time to listen to the podcast. We asked that if this information that we provide is useful and helpful and enlightening, we do ask that you share that information. You can share that information by subscribing to the podcast. New episodes drop each and every Friday. Excuse the background noise there. And also, we drop a new video on YouTube every Friday at 3 p.m. But you can subscribe to the podcast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube as well. Thank you. I am making a whole bunch of noise. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable here. Today, I want to talk about the issue of porch pirates. The issue of porch pirates. And I specifically am labeling it that way because it is a huge issue. And I want to talk about some of the challenges around porch pirates, some of the issues that have come as a result of that, what can be done, and some of the laws that have been enacted. But porch pirates, and for definition purposes, if for those who may not know, and I don't want to assume that everyone knows what a porch pirate is, but basically it's someone who steals packages from people's porches. So, as we have seen with the influx of delivery services, whether it's Amazon, UPS, USPS, so on and so forth, there, with all, increases in volume of such products, there's going to be crime that occurs. But the porch pirate situation has really escalated, and it costs you as a consumer millions and even possibly billions of dollars in losses, and then of course increased cost on the retailer side, but and the delivery package services side. But let me talk about that today. So today I want to talk about porch pirates. So let me start first. I was reading a statistic. This is from valuepenguin.com, and they kind of broke out what the cost has looked like over the last 12 months. So they commissioned a study, and this is valuepenguin.com. And, I'm reading directly from their site. They say over the last 12 months, more than 5 out of 10 shoppers have reported having more than one package stolen, for an average loss of about $106 per household. This is over the last 12 months. Now, let me just confirm, because I believe this study was done. This was published in February, so this is very relatively very new information. So they say over the last 12 months, over 5 out of 10 or 5 in 10 shoppers have reported having more than one package stolen for an average loss of about $106 per household. So that's big money when you think about it. From a macro standpoint, using some of the census data of total households, They say that that averages out to about almost $7.4 billion a year in cost in terms of lost or stolen products, not lost, but stolen products. So over that period, they say that there's almost an estimated number of victims, almost 144 million people. And this, again, this is here in the United States. Let me make that clear. Here in the United States, over 144 million people have been affected by porch pirates. And, again, an average of $106 per package or per loss, that's a huge amount of money. So, the numbers substantiate, what I'm talking about or what I said here in the beginning, that, we have a huge increase in thefts as a result of porch pirates. So I wanted to talk about, kind of the background of where we stand now, right? And again, that data that I just ran or just went through was published in February of this year. So that is very, very accurate, or I should say up-to-date information. So where is this occurring, right? Because that's one of the things that I wanted to kind of investigate was like, okay, well, clearly porch pirates and people stealing packages from people's homes is a problem, right? I mean, you don't have to go deep. You can see this on YouTube. There's a million videos of people getting caught on security cameras and doorbells and things of that nature stealing packages. But I wanted to go a little bit deeper to find out, okay, well, where is this occurring? Where is this occurring? Who is it occurring to most? And of course, want to get into prevention and things of that nature. So I pulled up an article and a study from security.org, and they also covered a story regarding this. They put out an annual, what they call a package theft annual report. And in that report, they mirrored, similar conversations to what the Value Penguin study had. But they also went a little bit deeper in terms of talking about why the increase is occurring and the areas that the increase is occurring in. So one of the things that they pointed out here was that a lot of the data is showing that the reason there's an increase, and before, actually, let me step back a little bit. So there's an increase from, and when I say there's an increase, because we're keeping data on this, looks like at least the last 10 years, but in the last 3 years since 2020, they've been keeping stats, to kind of see where the increase has been occurring. And, literally they have a diagram here on their site. And of course, I'll share this in the video and post links to it in the on my post. But they have a diagram here, or I should say a graph that shows the increase from, and they did a study from May 2020 until May 2022. And literally you see the increase from like 41% of people that they surveyed said that they at least had one package stolen. And then as of March 2022, over 54% of people said they had one or more package stolen. So when I say the increase, I'm talking about an increase at least since 2020 based on this study that I'm reading. But one of the reasons why there has been an increase, especially in the last 3 years, this is during the pandemic and now post-pandemic, if you want to call it post-pandemic, one of the reasons is that a lot of people are returning back to the office, right? Last year, we saw as things began to, air quote, normalize a little bit to how things used to be, many people began to return back to the office, but that did not stop people from ordering packages, obviously. And over the last 3 years, or at least I should say during the months in 2022, they saw an increase in porch pirates or porch pirating of packages because of the return back to work. So I wanted to point that out because I was curious myself. I was like, well, why is it increasing? Obviously, I knew it was occurring, but why is it increasing? And one of the reasons why is that you're seeing a lot of people return back to work. But what I also wanted to kind of point out, or at least I was curious about, is where is this occurring, right? Is this occurring in one particular city, one particular state? Does it seem more or less? And, quite honestly, looking at some of the data here, and again, I'm reading from a report from security.org who did their theft package annual report. And surprisingly, it is pretty much evenly distributed throughout the 50 states. There are states, well, I shouldn't say that. It is pretty much consistent that there is package theft in every state. What is surprising is the states that have theft by package or package theft or porch pirating done to them more than others. So, for instance, they kind of broke it down into, looks like the top 20 states with the highest rates of package thefts. And again, I'm reading from a report from security.org. And Alaska is actually number one. And I, of course, I'm like, well, what? Because of course I'm thinking, maybe California, New York, just thinking about from a population standpoint, right? Because typically areas that have higher populations have higher concentrations of crime. But Alaska is actually the highest out of this study that was conducted. And again, they, based on this survey, they've surveyed almost 20,000 Americans, but 29% of thefts, or I should say Alaska has reported at least 29% of their population, their residents, have been victims of porch pirating. I know it, and let me tell you, like I said, when I read it, I was like, huh? Alaska? But yeah, Alaska is number one, followed by Delaware at 27%, Nevada at 27%, and then New York is also tied. New York State is also tied at 27% of those who were surveyed said that they have been victims of package thefts or package thefts, porch pirating. I want to make that very clear. I'm talking about victims that have been, individuals that have been victimized because of porch pirating. I want to make that clear. And then they kind of broke it down and they went through some, additional states. So then you also had Hawaii at 25%. Some of the states with the lowest rates of theft of porch pirating is Maine at 12%. Then you have Wisconsin and Alabama and Georgia kind of rounding out between 13 and 14%. But nevertheless, this is a nationwide issue, right? There is no state in the country that has not been a victim or their residents have not been victimized by this in some way. Now, in terms of the average stolen package value, now, and this is, where it kind of gets even more in depth because oftentimes, and I'll talk about this a little bit more further down the line here in the conversation, but often the packages that are stolen, many times, they're not even reported to authorities. Now, of course, customers will call the company to say, hey, the package didn't arrive, or, I think my package has been stolen. But in many cases, as far as reporting it to, the police or, whatever the local authority is, many times that's not done by residents, and that's due to the value. So On average, and again, I'm reading a report here from security.org, it says on average, most packages, and this is across the country, are valued at around $50. Okay. And this is, again, for single packages. I want to make that clear. This is not, of course, holiday time. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of packages. But on a single package basis, typically the packages are valued at around $50 or less. And again, Alaska, as I'm reading here, and I'm reading a stat here about the states with the highest median value of stolen packages. Alaska has the most, or I should say, the highest median value of packages stolen. Typically in Alaska, the packages are around $80 per package. And that has to do a lot with the cost of things in Alaska, which I won't get too much in depth here on this conversation because I'm, focusing on porch pirating. But the cost of things in Alaska is high. I think I'm going to do a podcast about that. People will be very, very surprised to hear about some of the costs in Alaska. But states with the highest median value of stolen packages, Alaska, Rhode Island, Oklahoma, and then you kind of have Mississippi, Nebraska, New Hampshire, Delaware, South Dakota kind of rounding out around between $70 and $75 per package in terms of the value of each package that has been stolen. Now, in the states that have the lowest value in terms of things that are stolen from porches, you have Arizona, Illinois, Louisiana, New Jersey, and Wisconsin, and they kind of round out between $30 and $35 per package. So my point for giving this information is that oftentimes when these packages are stolen, many times because of the dollar amount, they're not even reported to the police because it's like, it's not worth doing a police report, having the police come out. And then, based on the value of it, many times if this occurs, you can call many times residents will call the company to let them know that, hey, I think the package has been stolen or didn't arrive. And then, they can go about replacing the package through the retailer from which they ordered it from. Another thing I wanted to point out was that, these crimes don't just occur. Well, let me back up. So these crimes, porch pirating, occur in all type of neighborhoods. So I don't want it to be misunderstood that this is tailored to a particular neighborhood. Now, many of the reports that I read, oftentimes so-called air quote safer looking neighborhoods are often targeted by criminals because they think that they are most likely to be able to get away with it. I can tell you there's a huge discrepancy between porch pirating that occurs at single family communities compared to apartment complexes. Matter of fact, reading a report here from retailwire.com, and they actually did a study about this. Well, I should say Value Penguin did a survey about this, but it was posted on the retailwire.com site. But Value Penguin did a survey, and they found that, the majority of porch piracy, which they call it porch pirating, was found to occur at single family homes at a rate of 62%. Okay. And then it only occurred at apartment buildings at a rate of 23%. And again, in both scenarios, only 17% of those packages only 17% of the packages that were stolen in those events were reported to the police, because oftentimes, again, when packages are stolen by pirates, by porch pirates, most people just go directly either to the carrier or to the retailer from which they ordered the package from, in order to get it resolved. But I wanted to point that out, that, you know, from a single family community compared to apartment complexes, obviously single family residential communities are targeted more. But I also wanted to point out that it is not targeted from there's not much of a differentiation in terms of the occurrence of it, whether it's single family safe neighborhood, single family bad neighborhood. It's occurring in both instances. So I wanted to point that out. So went through all of this. This is what the problem is. This is kind of the areas where it's occurring. What's being done, right? Well, there's a lot being done because this is a huge cost. Like I said in the beginning, it's costing retailers money. It's costing the delivery carriers money. It's costing you money. It's costing the government's money. And so they're trying to find ways how to get around that. Matter of fact, in Campbell, California, which is out in the Bay Area, the police out there have gotten pretty innovative in terms of trying to change this issue. And they have a tracking device that they use that they put in the boxes. So let me play this piece. This is from NBC News. They actually rode with the police, and I thought it was a great solution that they have here. So let's play that, and then I'll follow up.
Often they're going to want to know the fruits of their labor, and they're going to stop somewhere. So you can trace the line here. So it looks like they found their landing spot in the parking lot.
The GPS device brings the cops straight to the crooks.
Sort of think it is a typical car stop. Once we start talking about the package and what they stole, the look on their face is priceless.
Since this program started, you see less people stealing packages.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a direct correlation.
And I wanted to play that again because that is one of the ways that this is going to be solved. Local police teams and local police authorities getting involved and coming up with innovative ways to be proactive to stop that. So in this particular piece that I played again from NBC News, the Campbell Police Department, Campbell is a city out in California in the Bay Area. What they have done is basically created a box, and a box that looks just like your typical delivery box. They've put GPS coordinates inside of it, GPS technology, and once the packages are picked up by a porch pirate, they are then tracked, and once it's opened up, they can basically find exactly where the person is, and they can then arrest them. Now, the arresting part about it is where I want to take it next, because even though these criminals are being arrested, as I told you before, based on the value of the package is such a low value, right? On average, it's about $50. Many states don't really have laws on the book to punish people beyond misdemeanors in some cases. Now, there are a few states that have now made porch pirating a felony, and I want to talk about that. But just arresting those individuals is not enough, because oftentimes once they're arrested, it's like a shoplifting charge, for many people that get charged for shoplifting in a store, and a lot of times they're released same day and they're back out doing the crime. But states that currently have package theft, porch pirating as a felony, I wanted to talk about that. So you have Texas, you have Michigan, you also have Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, Georgia, New Jersey, and Kentucky. These are states where porch pirating is a felony. And in some of these states, it is, like punishable for a significant amount of time. I mean, Texas was one of the first states that enacted laws, and Texas, you can get a penalty anywhere from 6 months to 10 years in prison. And it also can be increased if the crime involved a disabled or elderly person, which oftentimes, many of these packages occur. Many of these porch pirates target communities that they feel may have elderly residents, because again, many times they're less likely to report the porch pirating issue. So, but going back, so those are the states that have porch pirating as a felony. But again, like in Texas, you can get almost up to 10 years. In Michigan, it's possible with a penalty and up to 5 years in prison. And it just goes on and on and on. Now, here's the thing. These are the states that currently have them on the books. California, New York, South Carolina, Kansas, and Missouri are all in the process of drafting similar laws and putting these out to vote. So there is becoming a mass wave of legislation that's going to come through all of these states, or a lot of the states, to ensure that if porch pirating continues, it is and will be punishable by law. So I wanted to point that out. Now, just one more thing, and then I want to talk about solutions. So in terms of porch pirating, I went through the states that are most commonly targeted, or I should say have the highest reports or highest rates, or have reported, I should say, the highest rates of porch pirating. Cities are totally different, and there are cities throughout the country that have the highest rates of porch pirating. As I just talked about in the previous piece, the Bay Area in California is ranked number 1 in terms of porch pirates, and this is all through San Francisco, Oakland, up to Campbell, California, like I was talking about. They have the highest rate in terms of porch pirating per city. Then rounding it out, you have Seattle, Washington, Austin, Texas, Hartford, Connecticut, which kind of was interesting to me, Los Angeles, California, Sacramento, California, Fresno, California, Milwaukee, and then also New Orleans. But California, in terms of their cities, have a huge problem with porch pirating. So I wanted to point that out. So now, talked about all of the issues, talked about the concerns, what can be done, because that's really what this is about, right? What can be done? So first of all, in terms of prevention, and I was reading a article here from Forbes.com, there are several steps that you can do to reduce the occurrence of porch pirating occurring at your home or at your apartment complex. Number one, you want to track all your packages, right? From the time that you press that submit or add to cart or complete order, you get that tracking number in that email or on your text. You want to be able to track that package. You want to track that package in real time if you can, but you definitely want to be able to track the package to see what the transition times are, and then possibly be able to be at home when it's delivered. You can request a signature for delivery. I know a lot of people sometimes don't do that, especially for more expensive items. You might want to request a signature for delivery, because that's going to force the delivery individual to have to come back if you're not home. Use a package locker. Amazon has the lockers, which they set up in different areas and different retail stores and things of that nature. Have it delivered to a package locker. That way it's there, and it's an inconvenience that you have to drive, and it's not as convenient as getting it at your front doorstep, but at least it'll be there when it's delivered. Have packages delivered when you're home. Obviously, that's not always convenient, because again, as I noted, many people have gone back to work, so and you are not in control of the delivery schedule. Talk to your neighbors. That's a huge one. You definitely, for those who have neighbors that are at home, that work from home, definitely you want to talk to your neighbors to kind of keep an eye out, especially if you have a package coming or something a little bit more expensive that you want to make sure that you are able to receive. And then, of course, the most effective method, which is the reason why so many of these crimes can be reported and are being documented, is to get some form of video surveillance. Whether you have a camera out front, you get the video doorbell, whatever it is, the investment in that, especially if you're someone who gets packages delivered regularly to your home, you definitely want to have that in place, because that has definitely also been a huge deterrent. And if not a deterrent, definitely at least you are able to reconcile with the company or with the delivery service to have a new package delivered to you, because you have documentation that you did not receive it and that it was stolen. Last but not least, what I want to talk about is, once the package is stolen, right? You've come home, package is not there, you checked it, tracked it, said it was delivered, nothing's on your porch, or you checked your video surveillance if you have that, and you see that it's gone, or a neighbor lets you know, whatever. What can you do after it's stolen, right? Because it's great to do prevention, but it's going to occur that at some point, it's not going to occur, but if it occurs at some point, you want to know, what can I do to make sure that I have the ability to recover from this? So, the first thing, again, like I said, track your package. That's the first thing you want to do to confirm that, hey, it was delivered, but it's not here. Or obviously check with your neighbors. If you, depending on the proximity of where you live with your neighbors, maybe it was delivered to the wrong address, maybe blew out into the street and neighbor picked it up. You want to do that. Always contact the seller or the retailer or the delivery service to say, hey, I tracked this package, it's not here. I checked with my neighbors, checked my video. It looks like somebody might have grabbed it, or I don't see anything here. Work with them. File a claim with the shipping company, UPS, Amazon, USPS. Now, and I didn't mention this, and I should have mentioned this. Theft by mail is a crime nationwide. That's a felony nationwide. But it does not cover, theft by mail only covers packages that are delivered via USPS, United States Postal Service. It doesn't cover Amazon and UPS and FedEx shipments. So I wanted to point that out, because I'm pretty sure somebody's listening and like, well, I thought theft by mail was a felony. Yes, if it's USPS mail, but if it's Amazon or UPS or FedEx, it doesn't fall under that. But again, going back, so track your package. If your package is stolen, track the package first, check with neighbors, contact the seller, file a claim with the shipping company, check your credit card, see if you have purchase protection, because depending on which credit card you have, you may already have some type of insurance with the package that was delivered that could be reimbursed, at least monetarily. And then file an insurance claim if it's something, worth filing for. And number 6, I'm like, it really has to be a high dollar item for me to file an insurance claim. But if you have homeowners or renters insurance, you can be covered for mail theft. But again, that just depends on how much that package was, and do you want to go through the process of filing an insurance claim. But again, these are some of the things that you can do after you've been a victim of porch pirating. So you do have the ability to kind of utilize some of these techniques in order to be reimbursed if you are a victim of package theft. So, a lot of information, but I wanted to talk about this because typically this is done during the holiday season, and then, during the rest of the year, people seem, in my opinion, put their guard down, and then, you can easily become a victim of it. So I wanted to talk about it now, but definitely, as always, if this information is helpful and enlightening, please feel free to share this information with your community, your family, your friends, and your network. As always, if you want to leave a comment regarding any of the podcasts, you can reach me on my social media accounts at I am Trey Evans. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also reach me at the show Instagram, which is the People's Voice Podcast on Instagram. The People's Voice Podcast. So, as always, dreams are not just for sleeping. Please wake up and live your dreams. My name is Trey Evans, the People's Voice. Tell somebody about the dream. Salute.
I am Trey Evans, the
People's Voice.